It is 2:35. So Elizabeth, do you want to kick us off while I pull up the video?
Sure. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Ozer. I am the Policy and Special Projects Manager at First Up, a partner organization with Women's Way. And I'm excited to tell everyone a little bit about why we're here today. So as many of us are already aware, women are really underrepresented in a lot of ways, and we're hoping to change that. So just to get us excited about what that change can mean and how impactful it can be, I'd like to share a video from one of our local elected officials, Kendra Brooks. Camille, can you play the video?
Yes. Sound working?
I've lived in Philadelphia for over 40 years. Like so many Philadelphians, I've worked hard to get by. I had a good job that I loved, working with children with disabilities. But in 2011, Republican Governor Corbett slashed our education budget. I was laid off from my job of 17 years. Struggling to make ends meet, I lost my longtime family home to sheriff's sale. In 2014, the city tried to privatize our neighborhood school. That's when I began to fight back. With other parents, we fought to keep Edward T. Still Elementary open as a neighborhood school. We won. Since that win, I haven't stopped. In 2017, we finally won back local control of our public schools. But it's still far too difficult to survive in this city. So many of us struggle to put food on the table, even when we work multiple jobs. Our kids go to school each day in toxic buildings without enough staff. We are targeted by the police and the courts. And whether you rent or own your house, housing prices are going through the roof. There is a disconnect between what's happening in our neighborhoods and who's sitting in City Hall. Working people like me need to be in the room, making policies for us. There are 2 seats in City Council that can't be held by the Democratic Party. For years, these seats have been given to Republicans. There is no reason why Trump's party should be making decisions in our city. That's why I'm running on the Working Families Party ticket with Pastor Nicholas O'Rourke. To get Republicans out and working families in. My name is Kendra Brooks, and I'm running for City Council to create a city with affordable, accessible housing for all, quality public schools in every neighborhood, and where one job is enough for a family to thrive. This is our moment to take our seats at the table in City Hall, our moment to do something that has never been done before. On November 5th, vote for Kendra Brooks first, button 716 with the Working Families Party.
Thanks, Camille. So what a powerful video and what a powerful message. I'd like everyone just to think for a minute about what it means for Philadelphia and for the people in our area and for people outside of our area to have somebody like Kendra Brooks in a position of power and helping to craft policies and help make legislation that affects the lives of everyone in this city. And especially when we think about how underrepresented women are in politics in general, it's also really true that people with wealth are more likely to end up in elected positions. And this leaves out people from working families such as Kendra Brooks, whose needs are not being met and whose voices are not necessarily being shared at the table. So the fact that Kendra, of course, won her position and currently serves as a council member in Philadelphia City Council is really huge. And we're in this fellowship going to bring the voices of other women from working situations and situations of economic hardship in a place to raise their voices and be able to share their story in a way that will help other elected officials, the media, foundations, and the public in general to understand better what it means to be working and what economic hardship means and where it's coming from. So we're hoping in this fellowship to find other women with stories like Kendra's who can be lifted up to make a change. I'll turn this over to Camille to share a little bit more about the WESI project under Women's Way.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. That was such a great video. So my name is Camille Nico. I'm the program director for the Women's Economic Security Initiative at Women's Way. Just in case you haven't heard of Women's Way, Women's Way is a nonprofit community foundation in Philadelphia. We're dedicated to the advancement of women, girls, and gender equity. We've been around Philly since the 70s. And our work has changed a bit over these last couple decades, but our focus areas have remained the same because unfortunately women are still dealing with the same issues that we were dealing with several decades ago, and maybe it's transformed and they're emerging in different ways, but we still think that they're huge priorities for our city. So those focus areas are economic security, reproductive rights, reproductive justice, safety and gender-based violence, and leadership development for women and girls. So those are our focus areas, and we really address those areas through grant making, so giving funds to other organizations in the region who are directly serving women and girls. We do some education, we do like a book prize every year, and we've started recently some webinars all about the gender wealth disparity. And then we do a lot of convening, which is what I primarily do with this group, which is bringing people all together, bringing people from the nonprofit sector, from the for-profit sector, from other philanthropies, and women who are actually in the community experiencing some of these issues, bringing all these folks together. And I think I missed government, bringing all these people together to talk about these issues and try to come up with some solutions to really move forward and better the lives of women and girls in our region. So a tiny bit more about what we call WESI. When you hear us say WESI, we're talking about the Women's Economic Security Initiative. We started this about 3 years ago, and the idea was to create an initiative with the vision that all women in the Philadelphia region attain financial well-being for themselves and their families. So it's a really ambitious goal, but we were kind of sick and tired of seeing a lot of Band-Aid approaches to addressing poverty in our city, and we wanted to really try to get at the root cause and set a big goal for all women and families in this region to feel safe and secure and financially stable and go after their dreams and live, quality lifestyles. So we are really, what I do is I facilitate a lot of meetings where I bring all these people into the room, like I just mentioned, government, nonprofit, for-profit, and women with lived experience, everyone together, and we have a ton of really amazing conversations. We come up with ideas and we try to launch new programs or find new ways we can coordinate and work together to really move the needle on some of these issues. And a lot of the people who are presenting today with me are part of that initiative and have been really critical partners. So that's a little bit about WESI. And now I'm going to hand it over to Diana, one of our partners, to talk a little bit more about this fellowship program, which is why you are all here today.
Thanks, Camille. Hi, everyone. My name is Diana Liu. I'm a part of the Change the Narrative committee within WESI. And in my daytime, I work with the Germantown Info Hub. And so for a variety of reasons, just being a part of this group and with this amazing committee has been really great and really fulfilling. And so one of the things that came out of, because I want to say it's probably been at least a year that I've been a part of this committee, one thing that came out of it was the development of this fellowship program. And so our goal was to create this fellowship, and we wanted as one of the outcomes for us to be able to generate awareness of racial and gender inequities in economic opportunity. And what we want to come out of that is not just that people know about it, but that it can then spur action among the public and private sectors. And we're saying this in part because the decision makers are often not the ones who have lived experiences. And so how can we get their attention and make them aware, but also eventually change that narrative? And so in order to do that, it comes to the who. So we want to make sure that these decision makers aren't just listening to each other, because then you have this sort of echo chamber of people deciding what happens next without connecting with the very people and individuals who would be most affected by it. And so we want to work with women with lived experience of economic insecurity and empower them to share their personal stories as a part of that change. Next slide, please. Thanks. So what we're hoping that you'll bring here are some attributes of our ideal fellows as we've been building this. And I really do want to emphasize this is the very beginning. This is the first time that we're doing this, and this is the first cohort. And so we're really excited to also be building this with all of you. And so we're looking for folks who would be, and if this sounds like you know, scribble it down. And if this sounds like someone you know, please scribble it down. So you are open to telling your story. You're already telling your story, maybe through social media or through some other avenues, and you know, we can help amplify that. You're interested in using your story to make social change, especially as it's related to economic insecurity and gender and racial justice. You're interested in learning about storytelling, working somehow in media or journalism or, you know, something like that. We're looking for applicants from all different backgrounds. So if you have a friend who has an experience that is also compelling and they come from a very different point of life than you, please encourage them to apply. Also, part of the fellowship is learning and growing with each other. And again, I think it was mentioned earlier, but we do need to emphasize that this is a 6-month fellowship. So you would need to have some time to commit from December through May. And again, this is our first cohort, so don't worry, there will be others. We want to make sure that if you participate this round, that you get everything that you can out of it and also give that back to your fellows. So the time commitment part is something that we want to also emphasize. And, you know, we hope this sounds like you. And so this is what we're hoping that you would get out of the fellowship program: stronger communication skills. And that's includes storytelling, public speaking basics, writing press releases and op-eds. It comes from, you know, all these different mediums. We want to help deepen the knowledge of what it makes to create these narratives, including how they evolve, how to highlight, challenge, or disrupt the way that stories are currently being told, especially if they're about your experience and it's not accurate, and how to create new ones. And so we're working with First Person Arts, who you'll hear Neil speak a little bit more about what they do, but you're going to be in good hands working with some really incredible storytellers and story makers who can just work with you to help you find your voice. And we want to help you amplify that too. And so part of that is learning how to use different communication formats. And so that can be social media, it can be videos, it can be podcasts. I think when sometimes people think about media or journalism in particular, you think that you need to have a background in writing or in journalism, but that's not the case. Everyone has a story to tell. It's just which story and through which medium. And so we do want to try to work with different mediums. And fellows will receive an honorarium that's paid on attendance and upon deliverables. This is a part of a peer-to-peer learning community. So we want to make sure folks are committed to closing the gender wealth gap. And that as a part of that, you'll build new relationships, not only with each other, but with media experts, policy makers, and philanthropists. So think about the WESI network as well as the Women's Way network. And yeah, next slide. Yes, and so what will happen at the end of these 6 months? Your stories. So we're looking at 10 stories from our fellows, which will have been produced and shaped into pieces of journalism. And what do we mean by that? We recognize that people have different storytelling styles and comfort levels with different either technologies or platforms. And so maybe you are better at writing, or maybe you're better as a visual communicator. So First Person Arts will work with you on how to tell your story using your voice. And fellows will walk away having created professional level audio, visual, print, and or social media stories. These stories will live in a story vault, which will be widely promoted and easily accessible through our partner organizations. There will also be 2 convenings with makers during the 6-month period. And last but not least, there will be a book and manual for other organizations to replicate this in their communities. What that means is that the work and experiences of our fellows will set a new standard for communities like Philadelphia. And so, and again, part of what makes it so exciting that you're the first is not only that you would be a part of the first cohort for WESI, but also really igniting some of this change at a national level.
Thank you, Diana. All right, well, thank you so much. So that was hopefully a helpful overview of our goals and what we're hoping you get out of this program. So I'm now gonna turn it over to Neil from First Person Arts, Women's Way, and our work group who put this on. It was really excited and lucky to be connected with this organization that really at its core is all about storytelling, and that's what is the core of this fellowship program. So Neil will just share a little bit about First Person Arts and what this workshop will look like. But out of the 6-month fellowship program, 6 weeks of it, and a very critical 6 weeks, will be this storytelling workshop where you really, or where the fellows will find their story. So I'll pass it over to Neil.
Thank you. Yeah, hi everybody. Neil Bardhan. I'm the Director of Applied Storytelling at First Person Arts. We're a nonprofit based in Philadelphia. We've been around just under 20 years. And we believe that, as Diana said, everyone has a story to tell. Our work is all about true narratives, so mostly memoir, a little bit of documentary, but we're helping people share their lived experiences in a number of different ways. One of the things that we say is that we have ways of helping people tell their stories on the page, on the stage, online, and on air. So we recognize that while many people understand our work to be kind of stand-up storytelling, like one person in front of a microphone in front of a live audience, there's lots of other ways to share stories as well. And that's going to be something that the fellows develop through this, is learning, are they more of a comic artist, storyteller, or do they want to put things into a video somehow, any number of possibilities. But we use some tools that we've developed over the years and worked with individuals and organizations, from very small nonprofits and individuals to massive corporations and cultural groups, kind of everything under the sun, to help people talk about themselves and what they've been through and where they're going. And so we'll help fellows feel better equipped and develop a number of different ways to talk about what they've lived. I think that covers things.
Thank you so much, Neil. And I know you may have to jump off, so feel free to do that if you have to. But
yeah,
that was a little intro, a little hint at what that workshop will look like from First Person Arts. So because we love videos so much, I have one more video to show for you all. So let me see if I can multitask. But we wanted, so if this was a fellowship program that was ongoing and we had done it before, what we would have loved would be an alumni to share their experience and, share what it was like for them. But because this is a brand new fellowship program, we don't have any alumni. The next best thing was hearing from Derek, who's in our work group and has helped us come up with this whole concept and design this fellowship. And he did a fellowship very similar to this one that was specifically for people coming out of prison or jail and wanting to share their story about incarceration and about reentry. And that was, I believe it was called the Media Justice Fellowship, I think in part put on by People's Paper Co-op. So we've spoken to the heads of that fellowship, and we're learning a lot from them and kind of building our curriculum to be somewhat similar to theirs because it was successful. So Derek couldn't be here today, but he filmed a video for us, which is great, just sharing a little bit about why he participated in that program and what he got out of it, hopefully to give a slightly better sense of why this is a great opportunity. So I will play this here. Oh no, an error occurred. Let me refresh. Give me 1 second.
Hello, my name is Derek Kane, and today I wanted to speak to you about how I was a part of the 2019 Reentry Think Tank Media Justice Fellowship, and I also graduated. And what motivated me to join that fellowship and to be a part of that and to be able to express and to elevate and talk about my lived experience and to be able to elevate and also educate others on topics that a lot of people don't really know the details about. And for me, what really motivated me was in 2009, I was sentenced to a 10-year mandatory minimum sentence in a federal prison. And that was a first-time offense. And at that time, I really didn't understand or understood how that would really change my life. During the course of my incarceration, the Philadelphia Daily News did a story on mandatory minimums, and they highlighted my situation and my story. And the article was very well written, and it talked about, you know, the injustices of being sentenced to a mandatory minimum in the United States. And once that story aired and was put out there in the Daily News article, somebody wrote back in the comment section talking about that article and basically saying that even though mandatory minimum should be something that people look at and should and go back and try to change, Derek Kane is still a drug dealer, and he's not a good father. And basically, they just made it seem like, regardless of what my decisions was at the time, I would never change. And this is the perception of a lot of people when they see people who are returning citizens. And that motivated me to say, okay, if this man feels this way about my situation, imagine how other people feel. So for me, it was about coming out and changing my narrative. So I had the opportunity when I came home in 2017, to be a part of this criminal justice journalism fellowship with the reentry think tank. During that time, I was able to talk about my story, use my stories and highlight my lived experience of what I went through, and use that as a place to tell my story, to explain my story, and try to change that narrative so people can understand that the decisions that you made in your past does not define who you are in the future. And that was key for me. And that was one of my biggest motivations, to get that out there and let the world know that it's not always one size fit all, right? Everybody makes mistakes. No matter who you are, you've made mistakes. And the key to that is learning from that mistake and moving forward. But don't let that define you. And I think this opportunity you guys are about to embark on is a crucial part in playing that and changing those narratives, because you're letting your story be told and you're able to tell it from your lived experience. So I appreciate you guys being a part of this, and I definitely wish you luck in telling your stories, and motivate you to continue to tell your stories even outside of the program. And hopefully I can see you soon. Thank you.
So let's see.
Hello, my name is.
So hopefully that was helpful, just to hear from someone who's been through something similar and who was motivated and has found a huge benefit in finding his own story and how to tell it. And I know I was looking for a picture of him to put in our PowerPoint, and it's clear that he's been interviewed by different media outlets, and his story has been told and has made a huge impact probably on hundreds of people who are reading his story, and policymakers and so forth. So that's really what we're going for. And we hope that it's something that can both impact the world and also impact the fellows themselves in kind of exploring their own story. So with that, we're almost done. If you have questions while we're talking or about anything we've said thus far, please put them in the chat box. You can also use the Q&A feature. Either one will get them. So start putting down questions. And for the last part of this presentation, though, I'm going to turn it over to Gifty to just talk about the eligibility and some of the sort of logistics of how to apply. So I will hand it to you, Gifty.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gifty, and I work closely with Camille at Women's Way. And it's been an amazing journey putting all of this together. And we can't wait to meet all the amazing 10 fellows that we are going to have in this program. So to start with, like the previous presenters have said, this is our first cohort. And we want to make it a very interesting journey, not just for you, but for everybody who is going to be part of this. So the requirements for this fellowship program, if you know anyone who fits into this category, like Diana said, write it down, reach out to them, individuals who are above 18 years of age and identify as either women, cis, trans, non-binary, or gender non-conforming folks, women who have experienced or are currently experiencing economic hardship, especially in the last 12 months. We know the current situation, the current health situation or economic situation in the country has impacted everybody in different ways, but so that we can have an amazing journey with the real experts. We call them the real experts, people who have gone through this journey before, women who have currently who have experienced or are currently experiencing economic hardship, especially in the last 12 months. women, of course, who live in the Philadelphia counties. Possibly by next cohort, we would expand it enough to be able to reach women who are not very proficient in English. But because this is our first cohort and we are working so hard to be able to put everything in place, we would only want to have women who are currently proficient in English, and also can commit 2 to 4 hours weekly for this fellowship program. And of course, this is going to be a virtual fellowship because of the current health situation we have around the world. But in cases where we want to meet in person, whoever is going to be interested in the fellowship should be able to commit to attending in person. And of course, if we are going to be virtual, that means we are looking for people who have basic computer skills, and are able to use their emails, can connect to Zoom, and can work, with other information technology apps. If that is the case, if you know anyone who may not be able to who fits into this category but does not have access to a laptop or does not have access to the internet, of course we have, next slide please, Camille. Of course, you can reach out to us and we are happy to walk that person through the whole process of applying online and how to fill it and how to go about the whole fellowship program. Of course, you can find the application on our social media handles, Women's Way on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course on our website, womensway.org. You can find information about the application process. It's not a very tedious application process. In less than 30 minutes or so, you should be done with it. You would have fun with it, especially telling your story and how your story is going to make our region, Philadelphia, a better place for women who are currently experiencing economic hardship. But outside the application process, selected applicants who get to the next stage would be interviewed between 30 minutes to 1 hour, and decisions about their acceptance or status in the fellowship would get to them by the 24th of November, which is just by the corner. Like we said when we started the presentation, the fellowship would begin in December. So we have a very short time frame, but at the same time, we are hoping to have a very wonderful journey with everybody who is going to be part of the fellowship program. Information regarding this we would put it in the chat box for anybody who, you could copy it out or you could visit our website or also visit our social media handles for all the information about it. And of course, like I said, if you have questions, please send an email to Camille, and we would be very, very happy to work with you through the application process or to answer any question you have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gifty. And thank you, everyone. That is our presentation. So we just wanted to give an overview and then leave it open for questions. I don't see any questions yet, but we'll wait a minute or so in case anyone has questions. And if you don't have questions today, but you think of one tomorrow, send me an email. Go to womensway.org/fellowship and you'll see a bunch of information there. Or just email me questions anytime they come up. We'll give everyone maybe 30 seconds to type in some questions if you have them. And thank you to all of our presenters. It's great that this is always a collaborative. We try to do everything as collaboratively as possible through WESI. And I like what Diana said, if you have fun with the application, you're probably a good fit. We have one question about a recording of this info session. Yes, I believe that I recorded it. So I will, this is my first time doing a webinar, but it looks like it's recording. So I will get the recording into a format that is helpful, and I will send this out. I'm not sure. Yeah, you know what I'll do? I'll send it to the people who registered for this, and then whoever you found out about this through, whether it was me or my colleague Jess, I know sent this out to a lot of people. I know our partners did. Then just ask them, and we'll make sure you get it. But if you're on this call right now, I will send it out to all the registrants. And we're also going to be doing 2 more info sessions. We're trying to schedule them right now. We're as you all can tell, we're on a very quick timeline. We're trying to get this fellowship moving really quickly while still figuring out all the logistics and details. But I'm going to send out another communication with a couple more info sessions that we'll probably do, one next week and one the following week, leading up to the end. And again, if someone has a question or has a particular circumstance, email me. I'm happy to jump on the phone with people who are interested and talk through it. I'm happy to help however I can. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions. Thank you, Gifty, for putting a link in there with another description of the program. Let me just double check that no one is asking through the Q&A. Nope, I don't think so. All right, well, thank you all so much for spending almost 40 minutes with us. It was great to share a little bit, and we're excited that this is real now and that it's happening because we've been planning this for several months. So we're really excited. Hopefully you or someone you know applies. Reach out with any questions. And yeah, thank you all so much. I'm going to stop my screen share and so you can see all of our faces for a minute. But have a wonderful weekend, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.